The early days of Rainbow Six created some of the first immersive tactical shooter experiences in gaming. Since those games, a growing community of players have moved away from the run-and-gun Call of Duty style gameplay in search of something more tense, more involved, and in many cases more rewarding in the world of tactical shooters. Ground Branch is one of those games. We're the Bullet Sponges, and we are back with another Play or Pass, where we jump in and give you our thoughts on whether we think a game's worth your money or one to leave alone. And if you feel like joining myself and Nex for more co-op reviews and Let's Plays, feel free to subscribe and join us each week as we review and play through all sorts of different titles. As I mentioned in the intro, today we're going to be taking a look at the brutally realistic tactical shooter Ground Branch. Encouragingly, this game comes from one of the devs behind the original Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon games. Games which helped lead the way for the early foundation of the genre, and Ground Branch builds on these foundations set by those early games by providing players with a true small team tactical shooter. With a heavy focus on gear and weapon customization, you're given enough flexibility to fill whatever role in the team you want to play. Whether that be long-range support, a close quarters breacher, or a flexible mid-range rifleman, you'll find everything you need to gear up and deploy. These customization options, punishing difficulty of the bots that can often one-tap you into the next life. I'm dead. The wide range of tactical controls and the lack of any information once you're deployed in a mission means that Ground Branch finds itself solidly in the genre of tactical shooter, with no frills and no nonsense. Originally released in 2018, the game is still receiving updates and changes to improve the overall experience. So let's find out if it's a play or a pass.
It's currently a great time for the development of tactical shooters. We've covered a number of them and each one seems able to carve out a niche of their own. Ground Branch has gone the path of doubling down on the milsim experience, where realism takes centre stage from the very first time you step foot in game. Once you hop in a server, the lobby room is where you'll make all the necessary preparations before the game starts. Personalised lockers for that touch of luxury, and you get access to the most fine-tuned customization I have seen on an FPS game loadout. Its most notable feature being that your sights, rails, underbarrels and more can be placed in a wide range of positions, having a direct impact on how you interface with it. For example, putting a scope close to yourself gives better aim down sight coverage, whereas further back keeps your peripheral visibility clear. Ammo and equipment such as your grenades fit in pouches on your vests and belts, each pocket individually customizable so you have just what you need for the mission. As well as customizing your loadout to incredible depth, you can test everything out in the lobby firing range, with a nice little range for night vision antics too, while you're waiting for your slower buddies to get their act together. Finally, before you start, you should select your spawn location and have a scan of the landmarks on the map, because once you're in, all you'll have is your trusty watch compass to get your bearings. Moving around and you'll get an immediate feel for the slower pacing of the game, which highlights the truly tactical nature of the gunplay, eliminating scope for any of the run and gun elements you might be used to. You can try, but this has an incredibly quick time to kill, so it's extremely unforgiving for those that are positioned poorly. Combating this will require utilization of the many features Ground Branch lays out for you to be prepared. Speccing yourselves appropriately for the map and chosen spawn location will go a long way. You walk by default and have not one, but two running modes. A jog where you can still hold your gun out, and a sprint forcing you to hold your gun out of the way. You can lean around obstacles for safer peeking, and use proximity chat or radio to communicate with your teammates. Arm strength becomes a factor if you expend yourself too much through sprinting, or holding your gun out for too long affecting your aiming precision. It can be recuperated however by pausing for a moment, or holding the gun low or high. Holding it in this way is another realistic feature to improve on the immersive element of the game, as it also helps ensure the gun isn't pointed at your team, and I guess constantly holding it out like in other shooters is quite unrealistic. Ground Branch does away with all the UI elements, honing the player into the more immersive qualities of the game, causing your reliance on awareness of your surroundings to be an important factor to doing well. There are countless situations where you'll be mistaken for an enemy or even team kill yourself when you don't make that extra effort to communicate your position. For game modes, you have player versus AI in two flavors, a game type where you must collect the intel from a number of locations on the map. These show up as laptops, 3 of which spawn randomly in a selection of known spots, and only one being the genuine intel. Then you have a mission type to kill all AI enemies. These AI enemies can be pretty brutal. It's not an easy game to that effect. Their accuracy with quick time to kill really comes into play when you stay out in the open for that bit too long. However, at times you get a chain of bots taking the same pathing to a particular spot for an easy clear, something I'm sure will be improved as development continues. Then you have PvP, the first minute of which always felt like an all-out war. I think people tend to stock up on frag grenades, and on small maps will just be throwing them all over the place until they run out. Despite the population not being huge, we never had an issue getting into a game with other players. But there are always the options to just jump in with your mates, or even take the AI on solo. Without a doubt, there's something really special about playing Ground Branch. I couldn't put my finger specifically on why, but I guess due to the combination of all the realistic features, punishing gameplay, emphasis on situational awareness, and no interface to feed you information like how many enemies or even teammates are still alive. This was the closest feeling we've had to really immersing ourselves into the situation, and actually cheering on the rewarding successes of our team.
Ground Branch is one of those games that seems to know what it wants to be, and it does that thing extremely well. While there is a little jankiness and some of it is a bit rough around the edges, its fixation on tactical gameplay and customization means that you can easily overlook some of the shortcomings due to the way it shines in its core gameplay. The tactical realism is up there with the best, allowing players to move through their environment supported by gameplay mechanics that encourage you to pay attention to your surroundings and navigate them effectively. Things like the ability to look around while holding tab, and the choice of how much peripheral vision you want defined by how close you position your scope to your face, are all small touches that add to an overall immersive experience. The immersion combined with the tense CQB combat and lethality of the AI create an atmosphere of edge of your seat enjoyment. And instead of raging when you lose a mission, you just want to jump right back in and give it another go. The difficulty also means that an objective comes with genuine feelings of satisfaction, and even when you're dead and spectating the last members of your team, you're happy when they come out and get the job done. Now, while the game as a tactical shooter is excellent, we do have to talk about some of the downsides. And one of these downsides is the game's graphics. While I'm happy that they prioritize the gameplay and customization over making it nice and shiny, it is still an area that we have to bring up when we're reviewing the game. Overall, we gave Ground Branch a 3.5 out of 5, and for us it's an easy play. While the gameplay is excellent, it's immersive, satisfying, and the level of customization is rivaled only really by Tarkov. We can't ignore some of the areas that I hope get some improvements as the game comes out of early access. These include things like the AI just throwing themselves at you in certain engagements, the lower end graphics, and the limited maps. Let us know in the comments what you think of the game, or whether or not you agree with our review. We're the Bullet Sponges, and we'll see you in the next one.